Microsoft Surface Book Review. Design. If a tear in the space-time continuum were to suddenly rip open, two things would fall out. The Terminator and then the Surface Book quickly tumbling to the earth behind it. From the snake-like hinge, the flat design and even down to the washed-out silver color of this laptop, everything about it just seems like it came from the future. Milled from two solid blocks of magnesium. The Surface Book feels sturdy and has a most minimalistic style unto its own. From keyboard deck to the palm rests. The entire interior of this laptop is one flat surface of metal, save for the large space reserved for the glass touchpad. Similarly, the screen lid is made of one uninterrupted slate of magnesium, with its only extra flourish as being a mirror-finished Windows logo in the center and a rear-facing camera. Along the chiseled sides, you'll find two flat edges that start from the top of the display and terminate at the tip of the palm rest. That's not the only seamless transition. Unlike most other convertible devices, the screen and base sections share nearly the same thickness and weight, without the foreknowledge that the display can actually detach. The Surface Book looks like one continuous device, thanks to the hinge. Mind the gap. At the midpoint of the Surface Book, there's a piece of connective tissue that Microsoft calls the dynamic fulcrum hinge. On top of simply gluing the screen and keyboard base together, it's this key piece that makes the whole device work. Rather than folding flatly, the hinge basically coils into itself, leaving a noticeable gap between the screen and keyboard when the unit is closed. When opened, this same part rolls out and actually extends the base of the laptop, which in turn helps extend the support base for the tablet portion of the Surface Book called the clipboard. While a traditional notebook display might weigh half a pound at most, the top section of the Surface Book weighs 1.6 pounds. Because it contains all the necessary parts to act as a standalone tablet. As such, the hinge has been reinforced, and contains extra mechanisms. Not unlike the Lenovo Yoga 900's watch band-style hinge to keep it in place. Surface Book is solid as a rock, and you can even pick up it by the display and shake it about without worrying about the whole thing falling apart. On a flat surface, the screen is held steady in place and even stays put when you have it in your lap. The only times the screen wobbles are when I'm poking at it with my finger or the Surface Pen. But that really comes with trying to operate a touch screen on any laptop. And to address the concerns of the gap left in the middle of the system. Yes, there is a substantial open space in the middle of the system when it's closed. No, dust and other bits of nasty will not slip into the interior any more than with a standard laptop, unless you're a particularly messy person. After a week of using the Surface Book religiously, I can run my finger against the inside edge of the hinge and not find a single speck of dust. Another plus side of having a laptop that doesn't close completely flush is you'll never find any oily outlines of the keyboard imprinted on the screen. It's a design element that also eliminates the need to seat the keyboard into a recessed area. Instead, the keys on this laptop sit flush with the keyboard deck. The keyboard itself offers a splendid 1.6 mm of key travel that caps off with a satisfying thwack when you bottom out the keys. The trackpad is equally as enjoyable, with its glass laminated finish. For the first time ever, I found myself interested in using the three-finger multi-gestures to rotate through windows and reveal the desktop. While this is a tiny element of the Surface Book, few, if any, other Windows notebooks on the market today offer such a tight tracking experience. Mobilizing the desktop. The Surface Book's other signature trick is the screen can pop off the base with just the tap of a button. Technically, Microsoft is coming late to the two-in-one laptop game with various devices being able to do the same, including Acer's Switch family, Toshiba's Click notebooks, some HP devices, and the list goes on. However, no one has made a system as seamless as the Surface Book. Undocking and attaching the clipboard is nearly as seamless as the Surface Book's design. After either pressing the eject button on the keyboard or the virtual button in the taskbar, the screen will blink off for a second and then notify you it's safe to detach the screen with one quick tug. It's fast and simple, however, the timing takes a little getting used to. After you get the prompt to detach the screen, you have to wait for about half a second before you can actually lift the display off its base. Another unique feature to this notebook is it's the first to integrate a discrete graphics processor, or GPU, into a hybrid system. Tucked underneath the keyboard is a customized NVIDIA GeForce GPU that makes this laptop just a bit more capable with media production and gaming. We've seen this sort of GPU docking technology before in machines like the MSI GS30 Shadow with Gaming Deck and Alienware's GPU amplifier solution. Microsoft has improved upon dockable graphics, as the Surface Book just needs a short moment to disengage the extra parts, whereas both the Alienware and MSI solutions require the laptop to reboot completely. It's a neat feature that allows me to quickly show a friend something cooler when I want to read a digital comic book without having to lug the whole laptop around. But it didn't really click with me until I realized how easily it lets me bring my entire PC to another place without having to disconnect my external monitor, keyboard, mouse, Xbox controller and all my other peripherals at home. It's the coolest mechanic since the saucer separation of the Enterprise D. What's more, it leaves open a door to expandability, because the clipboard is compatible with all Surface Book keyboard bases, not just the one it shipped with. Microsoft could theoretically come out with future upgrades could be done through new bases, or maybe even a desktop rig that interfaces with the display. We can dream. With a starting weight of 3.34 pounds, 1.51 kilograms. The Surface Book is one of the heaviest 13-inch laptops. And that's without the optional, discrete GPU, which ends up adding a few extra ounces and bumps up this laptop's total weight to 3.48 pounds, 1.58 kilograms. While this might look like a lot on paper for an Ultrabook class device, consider the 13-inch MacBook Pro weighs just as much despite it packing a smaller screen, no dedicated GPU and fewer batteries. For a closer look at how the two devices compare, check out our Microsoft Surface Book vs Apple MacBook Pro versus article. If you're looking for the power of a discrete GPU in an Apple device, you'll have to go all the way up to a high-end 15-inch MacBook Pro. And this is a machine that is significantly heavier, 4.49 pounds or 2.04 kilograms, and larger, 14.13x, 9.73 by 0.71 inches or 359 by 247 by 18 millimeters. Thanks to its 3:2 aspect ratio and having a 13.5-inch screen, the Surface Book is quite a bit taller than your average 13-inch laptop. Despite its peculiar 12.3 by 9.14 by 0.51 to 0.90 inches or 312,232 by 13-22.8 millimeters WXDXH dimensions, I had no problem slipping this laptop in two bags designed to hold a traditional 13.3-inch laptop. The Dell XPS 13 comes as the antithesis to the Surface Book in its mission to be the smallest 13-inch laptop in the world, weighing in at 2.8 pounds, 1.27 kilograms, while measuring 11.98 by 7.88x, 0.6 inches, 304 mm by 200 by 15 mm. Spec sheet. Processor, 2.4 GHz Intel Core i5-6300U, dual-core, 3 MB cache, up to 3 GHz with Turbo Boost. Graphics, Intel HD Graphics 520, NVIDIA GeForce Graphics, 1 GB GDDR5 high-speed memory. RAM, 8 GB. Screen, 13.5-inch, 3000 by 2267 pixels per inch. Pixelsense display. Storage, 256 GB PCIe 3.0 SSD. Ports, 2x USB 3.0, mini DisplayPort, SD card reader, mini headphone, mic combo jack. Connectivity, 802.11 AC 2x2 MIMO Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 4.0 LA. Camera, Windows 8 MP rear-facing autofocus camera, 1080p HD. 5 MP front-facing Hello Face authentication camera, 1080p HD. Weight, 3.48 pounds, 1.58 kilograms. Size, 12.3 by 9.14 by 0.51 to 0.90, WXDXH, 312 by 232 by 13-22.8 millimeters. Width and $1,899 or $2,949, about £1,239. Price tag for the configuration above. The Surface Book asks for a pretty penny that's typically reserved for high-end gaming notebooks, and that's even applicable to the $1,499 or $2,299, about £978. Price associated with its most basic configuration, which is essentially a more expensive Surface Pro 4. Not just a joke either, Microsoft's two Surface devices shares very similar standard specs, including the same processor, storage space and memory allotment. However, there are several key differences. As Microsoft's first laptop possess a larger screen and a completely different design. It's for this reason, it makes sense to either throw in an extra couple of dollars in the hole to get the $1,699 US-only unit with discrete graphics and 128 GB of storage space. If you want to go whole hog on Microsoft's hybrid, you could also pick up a 1 TB configuration that comes with an Intel Core i7 CPU, a discrete GPU and 16 GB of RAM for $3,199, but again, unfortunately, this is a US-only configuration. Benchmarks. Here's how the Microsoft Surface Book performed in our suite of benchmark tests. 3D Mark CloudGate, 7,285, Skydiver, 6,089, Firestrike, 1,868. Cinebench CPU, 301 points, graphics, 32 FPS. Geekbench, 3,166, single core, 6,635, multi-core. PC Mark 8, home test, 2,336 points. PC Mark 8 battery life, 3 hours and 58 minutes. The Surface Book has broken all sorts of benchmark speed record, thanks to its hot new Intel Skylake and NVIDIA GeForce chipset. Just in terms of processing power alone, its 301-point Cinebench score is a significant jump compared to the Dell XPS 13, which ran with a last-generation Broadwell Intel Core i5 chip. Thanks to the extra boost from the discrete graphics chip, the Surface Book also has more than double the performance for gaming. This is evidenced by its 1,868-point Firestrike score compared to the Dell's 739-point performance. The only figure I can draw to compare this machine to the 15-inch MacBook Pro is the Geekbench score. In the multi-core test, Microsoft's laptop finished with 6,635 points. whereas two outlets saw the 15-inch Apple Steely Steed completed the test with an average of 14,258, an unsurprising result, considering the MacBook Pro has twice the number of processor cores. Surface Book. Pixels to please. With 3000 by 2000 pixels under its belt, the Surface Book sits at a happy middle ground of being sharper than most other laptops, including every MacBook in existence, without the troubles that plague 4K screens. You'll never see the separation between the pixels because they're so tiny, and Windows 10 scales beautifully at 200%. While most applications, including the Origin, Steam and Battle.net launcher would look tiny on a 4K screen, these windows look small, but not uncomfortably so, on the Surface Book. I even like the 3:2 aspect ratio. The ability to read more lines of text and not have a Lightroom window that's not vertically squished together more than makes up for the thick black bars that appear when you watch movies. Microsoft fashions its displays after A4 paper, which makes the clipboard feel like a natural device for writing and artwork. Within 5 minutes of handing the Surface Book over to an artistic friend who works as a designer in the fashion industry, she was already drinking the Kool-Aid. According to her, using the Surface Pen is incredibly accurate, and the screen gives just enough to the point where it emulates the feel of painting and drawing on real paper. Sadly, the speakers don't make as big of an impression and really only sound good enough for some casual listening, while they avoid the problem of being tinny. As most laptop speakers are, they also lack any depth with barely any bass. If you're looking to settle down for a movie or a quick game, you'll want to plug in a pair of headphones. Surface Book. Battery life. Battery life on the Surface Book is both pretty good and surprisingly disappointing. While Microsoft has promised 12 hours of continual usage and other outlets report getting even more juice out of the machine, our best time for the device was 7 hours and 39 minutes. As for the clipboard on its own, the tablet can last for 4 hours. While these are more than respectable numbers considering all the hardware inside the Surface Book, one honestly expected a much longer run time. The good news is this notebook recharges quickly, going from 0 to 100% charge in under 2 hours. This could largely be due to some problems early Surface Book owners are running into. My unit seems to be among this group of afflicted models. Just some of the major bugs include the system not starting up properly when connected to the dock and display driver failures, the latter of which cause battery life to drop dramatically by 3 or more hours. Microsoft has said it is aware of scenarios where Surface Book's display may deliver a display driver error and that we'll address through fixes issued via Windows Update within a few weeks after launch. By comparison, the older generation Dell XPS 13 lasted for 7 hours and 40 minutes. While several outlets were able to stretch their usage of the most recent 15-inch MacBook Pro for an average of 9 hours and change. So again, the Surface Book's battery life is by no means terrible, but it could get a lot better with future updates.